Spark Infinity. Good evening. How are you doing tonight? I hope you're doing well. Today, I wanted to share another story with you. And this is the story of how I discovered the importance of learning. I imagine because there are now many literary types in the group, many people who are far more accomplished writers than I am. I've been super lucky in that I've had best selling books and I've had an award winning book as well, but that's mostly a function of perseverance as well as writing things that I'm passionate about in certain domains, mostly like how to guides or real world stuff. I don't write fiction, as it were, although I'm pretty sure I could be reasonably good at it. Nevertheless, there's so many of you literary types in here now, so respect to you. Now, I wanted to share a story of how I learned to appreciate the value of reading, and I assume many of you in here already read and already know its value and already understand it. But maybe there's a few of you who don't really like it, don't enjoy it, find it to be a bother or troublesome. Maybe there's even some of you that struggle with dyslexia. Again, appreciate all types of people and thought processes and where you come from on this that could potentially benefit from understanding why reading can be so valuable. My story may not convince you one way or another, but this is how I came to understand the value of reading for changing my life, for moving things in a direction that I wanted to go. And that was really key, especially in my 20s. So, how I learned about the value of reading. Oddly enough, the story goes back to probably my early teens, or maybe not quite when I was a teen yet. Yeah, I think I might have been in grade four, grade five, something like that. I grew up in Japan, and so that means I was surrounded by the video game culture, J-pop, J-rock, anime culture, all the kind of stuff that people talk about pretty commonly in everyday conversation now wasn't quite the known that it is today. Probably because the internet, the world's a little bit smaller now because of the internet. There's one game in particular, and I think this game you should be familiar, or many of you should be familiar with it, even in North America. It's called SimCity. Okay. And I was playing it on Super Famicom. Now, I liked pretty much all iterations of SimCity at the time. I liked the PC version of SimCity. I liked the Super Famicom version of SimCity, and those were a little different. I liked the PC version, or really any version of SimCity 2000. Although I think I never played, I think there may have been an iteration for Super Nintendo as well for the SimCity 2000. I don't think that was any good, if I remember correctly. But the PC version of SimCity 2000 still occupies a special place in my heart and mind as being, wow, possibly one of the best games of all time. Maybe not the best, but one of the best games of all time. And so I was playing SimCity, and I'm like, huh, is there a right way to play this game? Like, I can just go ahead and build whatever city I want. But the thing is, I keep seeing, I run into troubles all the time. The game, it wasn't too generous, or it wasn't too active on the disaster side. Your disasters would ruin your city. The game did give you the ability to trigger disasters if that's something you wanted to do. But for the most part, if you're playing on normal or easy, disasters did not often show up in your city. So that was not a problem. But the problem was the people would complain of traffic, they would complain of pollution, they would complain when the land values were too high, they would complain about crime, all those sorts of things. And so it's like, is there a right way to do this? Like, if you take care of the right things in the right way, can you build a bigger city? And so I think I went out and bought like two or three guidebooks about SimCity, and I read all of them. And they all brought a slightly different perspective to the issue, but in the end, they all showed a massive city. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the ultimate goal of the population was 500,000, 50,000, or 500,000. Oh, yeah, I think it was 500,000. And you could sort of go a step beyond that to 600,000, which is crazy because I think you could earn like a Mario statue or something like that. So that was a lot of fun with that Nintendo tie in there. And so I was like, okay, like, I don't know if there's a right way to play it, but there is a right way to play it if you want to grow your city to those astronomical sizes. That's what I started to see for myself. And so I was like, okay, let me see what these books say about building cities to that side. And of course, I engaged in the reading. I read these books in Japanese because I'm bilingual. I read, write, and speak Japanese. I grew up there, so that helps a lot. I read all these books in Japanese, these guidebooks, and figured out how to build a city. Now, at that time, I don't think I ever reached the ultimate goal of 500,000 population, but with the help of those guidebooks, I sure got close. I'm pretty sure I got to like 460, 470, maybe even about 480,000. Beyond that point is just so much patience I found. Later on in my life, I did go on to create videos about SimCity and what the strategies I learned and how I implement them, and showed my cities reaching 500,000 and even 600,000. So I did eventually accomplish those goals later, but those seeds were planted way back when I was like 11 or 12 or whatever I happened to be at that time. So I really love that game. And what that taught me about reading and the value of reading was that if you want to accomplish something in life, if there's something you want to achieve, go and find someone who has those results, an author or a guidebook, and read. Read what they have to say. Adopt their techniques, adopt their strategies, adopt their mental frameworks and mindset. And I started applying that to a variety of areas, even at that point in my life, which is hilarious because it really came into play even more so later on in my 20s and 30s and so on. But at that point, I got books about fishing because I was really interested in and I really enjoyed bass fishing, wanted to catch bass. The book didn't exactly help me catch more bass, but at least I felt like I kind of got into the head of the fish. Like, where are they hiding? What are they looking for? And being more intentional about being observant of the field. Like, what's the weather today? What does the water feel like? What's the temperature of the water? What's the temperature outside? What season are we in? Are there bugs around? Can I see different types of flora or grass around me? And I've become more observant about those things because I read a book about fishing. And I think later on, in some ways, I think it helped me catch more fish. I picked up books about baseball because I was really curious. Like, how do you throw a curveball? I want to know how that is. And again, the book showed me the specific way of gripping the ball. Doesn't mean I instantaneously became a rock star at throwing curveballs or anything like that. But now I knew the theory behind it. Now I understood the motion behind it, the grip, the specific way you needed to hold the ball if you wanted to throw a curveball. So that became a point of fascination for me, and I have valued reading ever since. I did kind of take an extended break from it in a way, as it were, but I did come back to it, and I'll share that story too. But I hope what you get from that is if there's something you want in life, it's not just about reading, by the way, because there are so many other valuable things that I've discovered along the way. But one of the things, one of the key habits or activities to incorporate in your life should be, or at least consider, that one of those things should be reading, because reading is very powerful and it allows you to acquire knowledge and allows you to it actually allows your brain to be in a mode that it usually isn't in when you're doing other activities. Okay, so that's my story for the day. I really hope you enjoyed that. And again, I want to welcome all the new members here. There's so many of you, and I know we're going to continue to grow. We're blowing up this year, and I'm really excited for that. And as more of you come in, I hope you kind of get a sense of what we're about. Many of you have raised your hand and said, yes, I do want to be interviewed by you, David, or one of my capable co-hosts or friends. And I look forward to interviewing you. And if you're asking yourself who can be interviewed, you, the person watching right now. We look forward to putting a spotlight and showcasing your creativity, your art, your music, your business, your projects, your community, whatever it is you have. We look forward to showcasing you because that's really what this community is all about. And that's how self promotion works in this group. There's no posting and ghosting. That's one of the reasons I would really, really encourage you to start plugging into some of these lives. Okay? Because we're not always seeing these numbers go up. And I think it's really important. Like, if you want to participate, be a part of this group because we're moving at a fast pace. A lot of cool things are going to be happening this year. And if you plug in, if you make it that intentional part of your day, cool things are going to happen and you're going to be able to be part of it. Well, and I can't necessarily promise anything, but I could hint at things to come, right? Besides being interviewed and having you on our show multiple times, we're willing to have you back because honestly, that's one of the cool things about what we're doing here in Spark Infinity. We might do like video contests and have each of you create videos, and we'll rank the best one and we'll give it exposure and we'll send it out there on our various channels. So stuff like that could be very well be coming down the pike, and would really encourage you to plug in. At minimum, you can tune into these lives. You can ask questions. I'm here to answer your questions, okay? And I think some of you had questions about the interviews, and look, here's the thing. I can't convince people to like me or not like me. I've pretty much accepted that 25% of people are going to like me. 25% of people could be convinced to like me. 25% of people don't like me, and 25% of people could be convinced to not like me. But I've been a podcaster and an interviewer since 2007. Well, a podcaster in 2009, but an interviewer since 2004, actually, way back. So I've been interviewing people since 2004. You're in very capable hands. And if you hadn't picked that up already from the various live streams I've done, from the various interviews I've done, there's your affirmation. Okay. So I think you're in very good hands. I'm here to take care of you. We did have to put a pre-interview survey in place. The reason I did that was just so I could organize because there's so many of you raising your hand and saying yes. And I'm excited for that. And I love that, by the way. I really love it. But I have to be able to manage all the requests and all the interests. And that's why we set up a pre-interview. Okay? So if you have any other questions, honestly, I'm here to serve you. I'm here to help you. And I'm happy to answer whatever I can. One thing that I will share with you, the website at sparkinfinity.live is evolving. I think you're seeing my screen in addition to I have the blue light go off at night, okay? Because I don't want to be staring into a lot of blue light, so you're not, the screen color has removed some of that. Well, the website has evolved a little bit, all right? So we've at least got the logo or the Spark Infinity artwork, as it were, so that's a recognizable thing. You've seen it on Facebook, hopefully. You've seen it on YouTube, maybe. Now it's on the website. There's a brief description. Join the movement will take you to the Facebook group if you don't already know where that is. So that if you go to sparkinfinity.live, you can find that. We've got an events calendar so you can see who we've got coming up. And so far we've got a few things scheduled for February and March and April. February has actually been a very active month, so you're just not seeing what happened to this point so far in the month, but we got 2 more booked, and we got our flagship Thursday night show, so we're still going to have something happening for sure next Thursday as well. But the first one I want to share with you that's coming up is tomorrow night. Like I said, our Thursday night flagship show. Tomorrow we've got Cahill Camden. I'm having trouble saying his name. Cahill? Yes, Cahill Camden. It's a great sounding name. It sounds a little bit alliterative, like an alliteration to me. It's a great name. And he talks about a couple of subjects that, if you're not already interested in them as an artist, I think you should be, okay? One of the first thing that he's going to share about, like the 2 key areas in which he started a business and the 2 key things that he's going to be sharing about. One is PR, so getting yourself out into the news cycle. Maybe you can't get into Forbes or Entrepreneur or anything like that, but getting yourself into publications or newspapers or magazines or quotes or testimonials or whatever it is, getting yourself seen in places where it would be strategically advantageous for you to be seen. That's one of the topics. The other topic that I know his team has, I don't even know, I think it's possible they fully automated it, but they've come pretty close, if not already there, to automating the process of helping you get onto podcasts and matching you with the right ones. And they're starting to use a lot of technology to do that, which is pretty incredible too. So that's Cahill, Camden. That's tomorrow night. And of course, many of you are probably waiting for this moment. I'm excited for it too. On March 6th, we've got Wakefield, Brewster. I don't think he even needs much of an introduction. He's going to share and he's going to blow this thing apart. And I know it. So it's going to be great. But we've got all kinds of other shows coming up of various persuasions. So keep an eye on sparkinfinity.live. And if you'd like to be notified, then pop your email address into that little box there and hit subscribe. We look forward to seeing you on the email list. One other thing I think I forgot yesterday. I was a little tired. I'm starting to feel better now, but I was a little tired. I totally forgot to talk about my podcast very briefly. That's what the artwork looks like. You can find it in all the places that you would look for podcasts. Apple, Amazon, iHeart, Spotify, YouTube. You can probably see those buttons on screen, right? Apple, Amazon. You can find it in all the places, and it's free, right? So if you like this, if you liked what I shared today, that's kind of the shape my podcast has been taking lately. Is like I'm telling a lot more stories of my experiences and what I learned from them. So with the podcast, it really is the primary way in which I'm keeping everyone updated with all the things that I'm doing, because I'm not just doing one thing. I do try and I do strive to not be engaged in more than two or three things. Sometimes I find myself doing four or five things and things can kind of get out of control. However, more and more I'm leaning in that direction. So if you want to get more content like this, if you enjoyed this today, if you enjoyed Spark Infinity and any of the stuff we've done here, this is a free resource. That's the podcast artwork. You can find it on all your favorite platforms and subscribe to it completely free. We're up to over 80 episodes now, and I imagine there are going to be many more to come. So thanks for joining me for another live stream again tomorrow night. Cahill, Camden, come psyched, because we're going to have a great time. I'll talk to you